I've owned my Tesla Model 3 Performance for around 3 months now, and I really only get two questions about it. Number one, isn't Elon Musk going to jail or something? And number two, does it really drive itself? Let's talk about that. This video is sponsored by Skillshare. Learn from tens of thousands of educational tutorials available for just over $8 per month. Visit the link below to learn more. I think the best way to tackle this is to talk about questions that always come up when talking about Autopilot, starting with, does Autopilot really drive itself? Well, no, at least not yet. I take annoyance with the nomenclature that is Autopilot because I think it's an inherently misleading term. It means nothing. Autopilot is merely the brand name or the umbrella under which all of Tesla's current and future autonomy functions will reside. All cars ship with Autopilot hardware and Autopilot safety features. Now, I'll talk about those in a bit, but when people talk about Autopilot in 2018, they are almost always referring to Enhanced Autopilot, which is a paid option available today. Updates come out every month or so, and it continues to improve and gain new features. However, the end goal is FSD, or Full Self-Driving Autopilot, which Tesla says all cars it's been shipping for the last 2 years will one day be capable of. However, I have my reservations. More on that later. How does Autopilot work? Well, Autopilot includes a front-mounted radar hidden behind the bumper, ultrasonic sensors surrounding the car's perimeter, 8 optical cameras, and of course the Autopilot computer located inside the car's dashboard that performs all of the computational AI. Now, on the car's main display, it actually shows a 360-degree visualization of the objects around it. Stuff like cars, buses, SUVs, semis, motorcycles, cyclists, and even pedestrians all show on screen. This visualization is really pretty cool, and it's handy to see what's in your blind spot, but it's more of an end-user gimmick. What the computer actually sees is a more object-based wireframe that updates hundreds of times per second. Does it stop at stoplights and stop signs and stuff? No, it doesn't, at least not yet. There are 5 levels of autonomy, the 5th level requiring 0 human intervention in all driving scenarios, true self-driving. Most would argue that Tesla is currently at a level 2, partial automation. So what exactly is it capable of? Well, let's get on the road and I'll show you. At a very rudimentary level, Autopilot includes what's called TAC, or Traffic Aware Cruise Control. And that's just radar-based cruise control. There's nothing special about it. What is special, however, is auto steer, which you can enable by pulling down on the drive stalk twice. So not only is the vehicle controlling speed, but it's also controlling telemetry. Now, what's really cool about this is it's a pretty sophisticated system. I can pull down on the turn stalk and I make a lane change in the vehicle. I'm not doing anything. The vehicle changes lanes automatically, and it does actually a really good job. The other thing that's great about the system is it drives still like a bit of a robot, but like a really good robot. It acts more like a human driver. Other radar-based cruise control, when someone cuts you off, they oftentimes freak out and they slam on the brakes. This car doesn't, because it knows it's another car. It cut you off, no big deal. It eases on the acceleration, gains the follow distance back, and you're good to go. The other thing it does, it has telemetry data. So when you enter a turn, it's not worried because it just slows down the vehicle and you don't go rolling into a turn at 90 miles an hour. It's really great. Does it work when the lane lines disappear? Now, the system won't engage unless it sees lines, but it does a really good job in extremely difficult scenarios. A few weeks ago, it was pitch black at night with insanely heavy rain, like crazy rain. I had a really hard time seeing the lanes myself, but Autopilot didn't. It maintained the course perfectly. If the lines are poorly painted or disappear for a bit, the car generally still maintains course. Now, that's not to say it's perfect. It's completely useless in snow because it thinks snow are white lines, and errant lines can really freak the car out. Let me show you an example. Okay, so I'm in Autopilot, in auto steer, and the car is going to freak out underneath this highway underpass because there is cross traffic up here. I don't know if you can see on the GoPro coming across the vehicle. So there's white lines written all over the ground. And this car, I'm going to put my hand on the steering wheel because it's going to freak out, tries to follow the lines, even though they are not for, yep, see? So, not ideal. So can I just like sit back and watch the car drive? No, well, not really. Autopilot nags you to wiggle the steering wheel about every 20 seconds or so to make sure that you're still paying attention to the road. And Tesla strongly suggests that you keep your hands on the steering wheel at all times. Now, there are systems like Cadillac's new Super Cruise that are confident enough to let you drive hands-free, using only infrared cameras in the steering wheel to make sure that you're still watching the road. But Super Cruise only works on roads that have been manually mapped, which right now is only major interstates. Autopilot works on any road with lines. Furthermore, Super Cruise doesn't work in construction or when lane line location changes, and Autopilot does. So is that it? No, there's more. The new really cool feature though is Navigate on Autopilot, which I can enable by pressing this button, and you hear that cheery little sound. And it actually suggests lane changes by itself. So if I click this, that's not the turn signal, but it knows that my exit is coming up here, and this is the coolest part we're gonna see. It automatically changes lanes once I acknowledge it. Now, if you watch here, I'm not touching anything. No hands, no feet, nothing's on the steering wheel. The car sees that this is my exit, makes the lane signal change, and then actually pulls off of the freeway. This is one of those things where you're like, oh my gosh, this is the future. It's amazing. And it really, really is cool. Now, Elon Musk says that in January, the car will be capable of making these lane changes all by itself. Right now, you have to acknowledge the lane change. And I'm sure that will be cool when it becomes available, but I'm a little worried for that because it doesn't seem yet to be super cognizant of traffic around it. So if you have rapidly approaching vehicles, it kind of just like, okay, let's change lanes. And so they are going to need to fix that. But the fact that it can basically get on the freeway and off the freeway and handle changes and interchanges automatically is, it's amazing. All right, that's cool, I guess, but has it prevented any accidents? Yes, 2, in fact. I was driving on the freeway in Autopilot, and out of nowhere, my car just started slowing down really aggressively, and it freaked me out for a second because I was traveling at 70 miles an hour on the freeway. But then I saw the car in front of me slam on its brakes, nearly crashing into the car in front of me. Autopilot was able to see 2 cars ahead and slow down aggressively, but safely, before the brake lights from the car in front of me even turned on. That would have been impossible as a human driver. On another occasion, actually the day after I got the car, I was driving on the freeway, not in Autopilot, and some gentleman was talking on his phone in a lifted truck sky high in the lane next to me. I wasn't in his blind spot, I was right next to him. And without even looking to see that the lane next to him was empty, just aggressively entered my lane. Now, my car saw the impending crash, and it used artificial intelligence to see that the lane to the left of me was empty, and the vehicle dodged into the vacant lane, which avoided a guaranteed collision. I would have crashed because I didn't even realize what was happening until the evasive maneuver had finished. It literally, I'm not kidding, saved me from being sideswiped the second day I owned the car. It was incredible. Now, where enhanced autopilot is where all the fun goodies are, all those safety features come standard, which is pretty cool. Well, what are the limitations? Honestly, there are a lot. For example, the car doesn't hug the left side of the lane in a merge. It just tries to center itself in the middle of the 2 lanes. Sometimes it still randomly brakes when approaching bridges because the radar gets confused. When changing lanes, it often slows down, which is horrible etiquette. Don't ever do that. Navigate on Autopilot is completely oblivious to current traffic conditions, which means during rush hour, the car tries to get right way too late and the car misses its exit. Conversely, when there isn't much traffic on the road, the car will ride behind a semi 15 miles an hour under the speed limit in the rightmost lane for more than a mile just so it doesn't miss its exit. Completely oblivious. Now, these things will surely improve. In fact, many of the issues that I originally had with this car when I got it have by and large been resolved, and that's amazing. It's wild to me that you can buy a car in 2018 that will learn and improve and every few weeks get better and add new features. It's a lot of fun. But the question remains, is it worth it? Now, this is going to sound silly, but hear me out. It's amazing how good Autopilot is, and yet it's amazing how bad Autopilot is. When I sit behind the wheel and see this car take its own off-ramp exit, I can't help but chuckle to myself and think, holy crap, this is the future. It was like playing VR for the first time or using an iPhone for the first time. It's a game changer. And to be fair, it legitimately reduces a lot of the stress and fatigue when driving. I had a ton of energy after driving back 13 hours from Los Angeles, where I normally end up pooped. It's amazing during rush hour when you can just daydream a bit as you sit and watch the car do everything as you crawl forward in monotonous traffic. And it is a ton of fun to play with the new features as they become available. That said, the system is still very imperfect, even at the rudimentary, elementary stuff it promises. Not to mention the fact that full self-driving is extraordinarily more complex with way more variables. Even Google Waymo, the pinnacle self-driving project, still has occasional issues, despite only being tested in hand-mapped suburbs in Phoenix, Arizona. As it stands today, Tesla's really not even close to the amount of autonomy Waymo was at several years ago, and Waymo's not ready for public release, at least not as far as the public knows. It's my estimation that full self-driving at scale is still more than a decade away for both the tech and regulatory approvals to come into play. In the same breath, as it exists today, even though it's imperfect, Autopilot, to me, is already worth the asking price. And the fact that it will continue to improve in years to come is just icing on the cake and makes this car a treat to drive every time I get in. Speaking of cake, you can learn how to bake one using Skillshare. Skillshare provides creators with over 17,000 creative, business, tech, and lifestyle classes. I'm currently working my way through demystifying artificial intelligence. Look, I've often felt like machine learning and AI are just marketing buzzwords, but this course really talks about the real-world capabilities, limitations, and tools on how to get started using them for yourself. This is just one short example of the millions of things you can learn through Skillshare's entire catalog with a premium membership. Improve your value and open new doors with Skillshare. An annual subscription is just $8.25 per month. Better yet, the first 500 people to use my link can get 2 months of Skillshare absolutely free. I'll revisit Tesla Autopilot at the end of 2019 to see how it's improved. But I hope I'll see you before then. Get subscribed to the channel to make sure I do, and give this video a like if you enjoyed it. Happy holidays, Merry Christmas, and as always, stay snazzy.